Welcome to Old Man Sneaker Review. My name is Preet, and as usual, our goal is to let you know whether a sneaker is worth buying as an older hooper. Today, we will be discussing the puzzling inconsistencies that are rearing their ugly heads in a brand that I so would love to see succeed. Puma Basketball. Most recently, the Puma All Pro Nitro. But first, let's talk about Puma Basketball and how it got to where it is. A little history lesson. Puma started in the basketball world in 1973 when they gave my main man, Walt Clyde Frazier, a New York Knicks legend, a signature shoe called the Puma Clyde. Clyde was and still is the definition of cool. With his fedoras, fur coats, Rolls Royce, and beautiful custom suits, he put Puma Hoops on the map for performance basketball shoes. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Puma continuously tried to get into the basketball sphere, but were never able to capture the attention that Nike, Converse, Adidas, and Reebok could. In my research, it just seemed like they would sign some pretty big all-stars for a short period of time, like Terry Cummings or Ralph Sampson, but not be able to retain them. The sponsorship would just fall apart. They tried to make a splash with Isaiah Thomas, who actually wore Pumas on his way to his first championship in a 4-0 sweep against the Lakers, but then he switched out without much of a reason. Sad, right? Ironically enough, the Isaiah Thomas shoes were recently retroed and received rave reviews for their quality. Once Nike and Air Jordan took over the sneaker world in the late 80s and into the 90s, Puma decided to abandon their basketball lineup and focused on their lifestyle shoes and other sports like tennis, running, and soccer cleats. They tried one more time in the late 90s to get back into the basketball sphere by signing half-man, half-amazing Vince Carter. But that too ended in sadness as VC terminated a 10-year, $50 million contract a year after announcing that he was a Puma person and switched to Nike to be the face of the Nike Shocks. Boing. One gut punch after another, huh? It took Puma close to 20 years to get back into the basketball sneaker world, and in 2018, they anointed Jay-Z as the creative director of the brand, whose ethos was to lean into the history of what made Puma become Puma, Walt Clyde Frazier. And instead of looking to snag current NBA players who are disgruntled with their current shoe deals, look towards the future with an aggressive signing campaign of NBA and WNBA rookies, such as LaMelo Ball, Michael Porter Jr., RJ Barrett, Breanna Stewart, Skylar Diggins. They gave rappers J. Cole a signature like player exclusive shoe. They gave basketball trainers like Chris Brickley a shoe. A lot of signature shoes and player exclusives. An aggressive strategy that seemed to make Puma become the cultural champion. Over the past 6 years, Puma Hoops has been pumping out quality sneaker after quality sneaker that the grassroots hoopers do love, yet they still are not the must-have sneakers, which begs the question, why? I personally think they have the nicest aesthetics out there, and to me there is something special about rooting for the underdog. Why has Puma not been able to gain more traction? Before we can talk about their downsides, let's talk about their highlights. Let's start with them. The first shoe that Puma came out in 2018 was the Puma Clyde Court. This shoe worked off the retro look of the original Puma Clyde. The Clyde Court came in a bunch of wild colors, which definitely brought attention to the Puma brand. Unfortunately, the weight of the shoe, my size 13 here, weighs in at a whopping 578 grams, put a damper of it being a performance spark plug. Up next was the critically acclaimed Puma Clyde All Pro. Unfortunately, this shoe was released in the fall of 2020 when COVID-19 was wreaking global havoc. The restrictions that malls imposed in the US and the direct-to-consumer sales model at the time made this product scarce and hard to come by. Apparently, these shoes had great traction, they looked good, they were minimal, very stable, wide foot friendly, and ticked off all the boxes people look for in a guard shoe. Unfortunately, I have yet to own a pair, but I do look for them often on eBay. After the Clyde All Pro, Puma pushed out another heater of a sneaker in the form of the Puma TRC Blaze Court, which in appearance looks like a more reinforced, pumped-up Clyde All Pro. They share a similar looking midsole, but unfortunately, this shoe suffered outsole durability issues that a very small percentage of users reported. I myself have experienced none of this outsole durability. Unfortunately, this outsole durability reporting on the internet spread like wildfire, and the sneaker became labeled as not durable and thus making it not do so well in sales. This is a good thing because you can find this shoe on deep discount on eBay. I actually love this sneaker and I own 5 pairs of them, 5 different colorways. This shoe is cool because it gives you that low to the ground tactile feeling that we all search for. Yet it offers a responsive, bouncy, supportive, and really stable ride. It's a wide foot friendly shoe. What really makes the TRC Blaze Court stand out is that it's a lightweight shoe. My size 13 weighs in at 440 grams. Unfortunately, they are not extremely well cushioned, so my older feet tend to hurt after a 2 to 3 hour session. I didn't have any durability issues with the outsole after 40 hours of play with them on indoor courts. And these shoes with their solid outsole, remember that phrase, solid rubber outsole, absolutely rocked on dusty indoor courts. On outdoor courts, I assumed they would do well, but the rubber compound is just too soft for it to be an outdoor basketball shoe, so keep these indoors. After the TRC Blaze Court, Puma pushed out the Puma Fusion Nitro, which aesthetically looked like a beefier successor to the Hyde All Pro. A low-top Puma that was lauded as being low to the ground, but solving the issue of a lack of cushion on the Puma Hyde All Pro. Unfortunately, I don't know why they did this, but Puma decided to use a very new lacing system. It was less than ideal, it used widely spaced eyelets, and it had this fusion band that it used for containment. I believe this fusion band they used on soccer cleats, but it just didn't translate well on basketball shoes. These shoes did introduce this nitrogen foam, so it's called nitro foam. It's a dense, comfy, responsive, and amazing cushion. The downside is that it's heavy. My size 13 shoe weighs in at 532 grams. Overall, these received poor reviews online for having a less than stellar containment, but no comments on durability, traction, or weight. These reviews did push Puma to actually revise the shoe in a later iteration to replace the unorthodox spaced out lacing system to a more traditional lacing system. I have played in both the Fusion Band shoe and the traditional lacing system shoe, and I think these shoes are wonderful. They offer great heel support, but the forefoot still has that low to the ground feeling. It's wide, so it's a nice and stable base, which works well for us wide footers. I will say that the Nitro Fusion does take time to break in, but once it's broken in, it's responsive, extremely well cushioned, and ideal for longer hoop sessions. I really like these shoes, and remember, the solid rubber outsole on this model did very well on dusty and clean courts. This is a trend, just pay attention. It's a running theme for this video. Next up, hoping to resolve the minor issues of the recent past, Puma released a new model called the Puma All Pro Nitro. Doubling up on nitro foam, so it's dual density nitro foam, that's what they said. These shoes were marketed as a responsive, cushioned, lightweight, wide foot friendly, and stable shoe. It shares a similar silhouette to the Puma Fusion Nitro, and it does take inspiration from the Hyde All Pro. These shoes were the 2023 silhouette given to a lot of Puma NBA players. Dennis Schroeder wear these shoes. I see Michael Porter wear these shoes. I love this particular Clyde Closet colorway. Having had personal success with the solid rubber outsole with the TRC Blaze Court and the Fusion Nitro, I thought these shoes would really push Puma to the top. But unfortunately, out of nowhere, the solid outsole on these shoes were like using ice skates. They would attract so much dust and they would just slide. This was so disappointing. I really had a lot of hope in this shoe. Every online reviewer suggested going with the translucent outsole, so I did, and all of a sudden, full 180. The shoe has God-level grip, God-level cushion, God-level responsiveness, was a lightweight shoe. So out of nowhere, translucent outsoles are better than solid outsoles? What about the previous models of Puma basketball shoes? What gives? I was totally confused. I spoke to Puma's head of design, Jeremy Saleh, and he told me that both solid rubber and translucent outsoles actually tested the same. So what's the point of this video? What are we trying to get at? Should you consider the Puma All Pro Nitro as an older hooper? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, but yada yada yada. Let me give you some context. I love rooting for the underdog and love the shoes that Puma is creating, but inconsistencies from a smaller brand is one of the reasons that Puma has had a harder time gaining a lot of traction and trust from consumers in the extremely competitive yet overly saturated performance basketball sneaker market. I want to and will continue to give Puma a chance. I want to go against the grain and wear different shoes from different brands. There's a joy in being different. I want to recommend Puma Hoop shoes to everyone I hoop with, especially to my older hooper friends who are looking for a wider shoe, a more stable shoe, a really well cushioned shoe, and a shoe that has great traction. Usually, these are all checked off with the Puma Hoop shoe. It seems like Puma has a damn near perfect shoe with the Puma All Pro Nitro, but perfection with these Pumas can be found only with translucent outsoles. So yes, I could suggest a translucent colorway to my fellow hoopers, but sadly, there are only 3 colorways that have the translucent outsoles, but close to 10 with solid outsoles. And the kicker, the translucent outsole shoes are harder to come by than the solid outsoles. But with these inconsistencies, can Puma be trusted by consumers? Coincidentally enough, these are the same consumers that let bigger brands get away with terrible quality control, hyping shoes to create artificial scarcity, and making online drops miserable. But if a smaller brand like Puma were to make a single mistake, they get the short end of the stick. However, on the other side of the coin, an up-and-coming brand like Puma really needs to be perfect from the field, and thus far, it hasn't been so perfect. The silver lining on this entire situation is that Puma does seem to listen to its consumer base. This was exhibited in the revision of its lacing system in the Puma Fusion Nitro that we spoke about earlier. Let's hope that enough consumer feedback on the solid outsole of the Puma All Pro Nitro results in either more shoes being available with the translucent outsole or a revised solid rubber outsole that grips like Pumas from the past. Or the ideal option, a Puma custom option that allows you to design your perfect Puma with translucent outsoles and as many different designs as you'd like. Either way, the point of this video is to find out whether the Puma All Pro Nitro is a shoe that we recommend for an older hooper. The answer is yes, but the Puma All Pro Nitro is a fantastic lightweight shoe that is well cushioned, well balanced, extremely stable, wide foot friendly, and the right price, $130. But guess what? You'll always find it on sale. But it needs to have a translucent outsole. Otherwise, the shoe falls flat on its face. That's all I have for you now, friends. But as always, stay hooping.